Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, Ewan from WhatCulture Gaming, joined as ever by a very delirious Josh Brown. How are you, Josh?
I'm alright, Ewan. How are you? Have you gotten over your initial excitement yet?
I mean, literally when this trailer dropped, I think I screamed for a solid... In fact, I think I'm still... If I'm very quiet, you can hear like a slight just like in the background.
There's going to be like aliens picking this frequency up, echoing through time and space in 100 years' time, wondering what the origin would be.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Yuri Lowenthal's voice and I was like, oh my god, it's happening. And then literally saw Miles and I was like, it's so good. The trailer, this was such a surprise and such a pleasant surprise. We kind of there was rumors earlier in the day that Insomniac were going to be announcing something that wasn't to do with Spider-Man. They had another game coming out before Spider-Man. Little did we know they had 2 Spider-Man teams, and that's just kind of amazing.
I think wasn't it Jason Schreier, who tweeted that, and he was setting us all up. He knew exactly what he was doing by saying that, because obviously, I mean, me and Scott did the predictions video, and we assumed that, you know, when you say that Insomniac are doing a game before the next Spider-Man, you assume it's just going to be Ratchet and Clank. No, you get Ratchet and Clank, and you get a new full Spider-Man game, and I think that's kind of like a thing to point out, because when the trailer first went up, I didn't know if it was going to be DLC, if it was going to be a full game. It's obviously not, you know, a full Spider-Man 2, but it seems very much kind of like a proper big release that's going to act is either like a prologue or a link between a full Spidey 1 and Spidey 2.
Yeah, it seems almost like an Uncharted Lost Legacy type deal. It's a full game, but like I think, you know, Insomniac have plans for the symbiote that they've got squirreled away for a little bit. But basically, I thought we'd do a little bit of a breakdown. This trailer, I feel as though I pride myself on my breakdowns, Josh. Usually I'm able to pinpoint little detail, especially on comic book related things, but there wasn't much I could extrapolate from this information, from this trailer. There were a few different things that we can maybe, you know, infer from dialogue or whatever, but I thought I'd start off with the narration, because obviously we have Miles there. He's using his Venom Blast, but it's kind of backfiring and going and ripping his costume apart. I have no idea what he is attacking. I think it's to do with the villains that we see in the gameplay, you know, different enemies with different kinds of tech and stuff. Again, I have no idea who the villain of this is going to be. I figured there will probably be multiple villains, but it's one of those things where I look at and I'm like, could it be the Tinkerer? Could it be some other inventory type Spider-Man villain? I have no idea, but obviously we have Peter's narration. He talks about Miles' father, who, spoilers, please go away now if you have not played the first game. I'm going to assume you thwipped out of here, obviously because Miles' dad dies in the first game in the bombing from the Martin Lee's, is it Evil Inner Demons? Inner Demons, is that the name? Inner Demons?
Oh my god, I can't actually remember.
I think it's the Inner Demons.
Yeah.
I can't remember, I've probably gotten that completely wrong, but we have that narration. And one thing I kind of want to point out there is that, you know, it's almost like a passing of the torch moment. And I'm curious as to why Peter may be not in the city at the moment. And I know that if anyone's played the Spider-Man City That Never Sleeps DLC, you'll know at the end of that DLC, Mary Jane is basically like, I'm going to go to Symkaria and cover the Civil War there because all sorts of stuff's kicking off and I want to be there and raise awareness. And I do wonder if potentially something has gone bad there and then Peter is forced to leave the United States and New York to go find MJ in Europe. That's potentially, I think, what's going to happen. Either that or he's searching for more information on Harry and he's not in the city for that reason or another.
That's a good point. I think they could spin it any single kind of way they want. I think it makes sense for him to kind of go with MJ, or at least kind of go to support her, because obviously like their relationship and getting that relationship back together was a huge point of the first game, and it's them kind of like trying to come to terms and trying to balance their life and stuff. So to see him kind of leave the city and kind of admit that he doesn't need to be protecting New York every second of every day, he can like go abroad, because now there are other heroes with powers, you know what I mean? Obviously the Avengers are there, and he actually has Miles, who, by the sounds of the dialogue in the trailer, he is confident, is at least ready for something of a test. But yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the Venom Blast. I remember I've only read the Ultimate Comics with Miles, his introduction, once a long time ago, but I know when he's trying to get used to the new tool set, the Venom Blast in particular is something that he has pretty much no control over at first, and it's completely causing him a load of havoc. So I wonder whether we're going to get to play as Miles kind of, you know, he's obviously in the formative years of his superhero premiership, but getting to grips with not only being a hero, but with his own body and kind of growing into his own powers. I think that would be kind of a cool way to do it, give you a connection to Miles that properly sets up his inclusion in the next game. But yeah, I went on like YouTube and looked at the trailer and looked at the comments, and a lot of people are kind of worried or scared that Peter Parker's going to die so Miles can don the costume, because that's obviously what happened in the Ultimate Comics. But I can't see that happening in any way. I can't see any universe where Peter has to go just to let Miles become a superhero. That's not how it worked in Into the Spider-Verse, and it's clear that, like you said, Insomniac have plans for the symbiote arc in a proper Spider-Man 2, and I imagine we're getting a proper introduction to Miles as a playable character, so we can see them team up to take on bigger foes in the direct sequel.
That's definitely one of the things I'm most excited about as the upcoming games, is that, Miles and Peter have rarely come as a package together. It's only really been after Secret Wars happened, where the Ultimate Universe kind of got torn apart and Miles came across, that we had some back and forth between them, but they've never really cemented themselves as a full partnership until we really had, the Spider-Verse film and obviously Spider-Man PS4. So I'm hoping that they build upon that. I don't think Peter's necessarily going to die in that sense. But yeah, this trailer also brought me my most demanded feature of any Spider-Man game. And people are going to think that this is very trivial, but New York in the winter. I've wanted a winter-based Spider-Man game forever, and oh my god, it looks absolutely stunning. The snowflakes coming down, Miles is there, this big coat on, going through everything, and I think this is definitely where you can potentially see Spider-Verse's fingerprints on this slightly, because obviously that was set during the winter and it looked stunning. And again, it's another coming-of-age tale for Miles, where he's, learning his powers and, adopting the Spider-Man legacy. So I feel as though you have that influence there as well. But yeah, New York in the winter, that's so cool.
Yeah, man, we've done videos on this before. I think we even covered rumors for Spider-Man 2, where one of the rumors was it was going to be set, at least partially, during the winter. And I wonder how much of those kind of leaks or whatever were referring to this game, or whether they just got lucky. But either way, yeah, I'm the same as you. I think when it comes to New York City, we've talked about this before as well, but when it comes to Spider-Man games, obviously it's difficult to get away from New York, and we've seen so many different versions of this over the years. We've swung through these streets so many times. So to see Insomniac trying to find ways to kind of shake that up and keep it fresh, even if it is just by, setting it in the winter where you have these, I'm eating my own hair, I'm that excited, I'm eating my own hair. When you have these snowflakes coming down and you have, the entire city bathed in this, the white glow, I think it's just an interesting way to keep it visually fresh.
Yeah, my favorite superhero stories are set at Christmas. Whether it's, you have the Long Halloween that has a bit in Christmas. You obviously have Batman Arkham Origins, Batman Returns, Spider-Verse, all the best ones are at Christmas. And the one thing that I kind of wanted to question here about the New York setting and the Manhattan setting specifically is that we've had rumors for a while that the next Spider-Man game is going to potentially include Queens and Brooklyn. Obviously, with Miles being from Brooklyn, it makes so much sense to include that in the game. We don't know how big the open world is here currently. My speculation would kind of, logic would maybe lend itself more so to the idea that they're just going to keep Manhattan and not, leave the other boroughs of New York for the full, for the actual numbered Spider-Man sequel. But I certainly think it might be a good way to introduce Brooklyn if they are going to do that. I would love to see Brooklyn in this game, because I've never explored Brooklyn in a Spider-Man game before. So obviously we had Queens and Ultimate Spider-Man, so.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Obviously, Brooklyn is tied to Miles, but I wonder whether they're going to save it for the next game, or whether they're going to give us a tease of it in here, or maybe just added it entirely to give us something a bit extra to look forward to. Because like I said, we've explored thoroughly New York City, but then New York City is a living city. It's something that, obviously changes as time goes on, and even we don't know how much time has passed between the first game and this, spin-off, but you can imagine they can still kind of tweak things and make things slightly different and show the growth or the impact that, everything's had on the architecture and the way, the city actually looks, and which buildings have gone bust, which buildings have been erected, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's obviously some stuff that you mentioned, the landscape evolving. We have a sequence in this trailer where there's an entire bridge collapsing. I don't know which one it is. I can tell it's a bridge and not a road, because you see as the camera pans downward, you see the Hudson. So I'm curious to see which bridge that is, and I'm not too clued up on my New York architecture. I know there's the Brooklyn Bridge. I know there are a few other bridges, but I have no idea which one it is, so I'm curious to see which one has been uprooted there. We know it's coming out this winter, which is such a huge bonus. I'm so excited about that. And with this coming out, Josh, I was curious to think, when do you think the full numerical Spider-Man sequel is going to come out? Do you think that's going to be a 2021 deal or a 2022 deal?
It depends how many teams they have in Insomniac, I suppose. I can kind of see them turning around, like developing this at the same time, like parallel to a proper Spider-Man 2. We can get that sooner rather than later, but I think 2022 is probably a safe bet after this. And to be honest, I think that's the right choice because, you know, for as excited as we all are for these new machines, launch games for new consoles are rarely ever the best, you know, titles that you get.
Bugsnax doesn't exemplify the power of the PlayStation 5.
Hey, I'll have nothing bad said against Bugsnax on this channel. That thing looks absolutely like the stuff I have nightmares about. But yeah, like if you look at the launch lineup for the PS4, we had Killzone Shadowfall as an exclusive, and others that I've forgotten, FIFA 14, that we don't really talk about now. So I think this is a great way for Insomniac to kind of get used to the architecture and kind of try things out with the PlayStation 5, and then hopefully Spidey 2 would be a proper next-gen experience. You know, we talk about when Naughty Dog did The Last of Us Remastered, they said they learned so much by making that game about how the PlayStation 4 ticks, that they were able to make Uncharted 4 look as good as it was a few years after launch. Like Uncharted 4 might not have been as good had it came out earlier towards the start of the lifespan. So I think even though it might suck that we have to wait a little bit longer for a proper sequel, we're still getting a full game this at the end of this year, and that should mean Insomniac have more experience with the architecture itself to make a proper next-gen Spidey 2.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I want to know what you all think of Spider-Man Miles Morales' trailer down in the comments below. If you have any idea on who the villains might be in this, please shout out your suggestions because I am completely blind on this one. I have no clue who it is. Once done that, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and head back on over to whatculture.com/gaming for more news and analysis on the PlayStation 5 review. We've got lots coming within the next couple of days. You can follow me on Twitter at Ewan. You can follow Josh on Twitter at
Josh Brune with 2 O's.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thwip thwip. The whip.
The whip thwip, baby.
The whip. The whip.